What's up, y'all? How y'all going? Hold on. Let's shut off the table. But today I am reviewing Scream 6. This is gonna be spoilers, obviously. Y'all know how I feel about the last one. That's one of my second worst movie of last year. And the way they attacked the fans, and I still don't forgive them. But what do I think of this new one? And I was originally not gonna watch it at all, but I figure because I am a Scream fan, I almost have to watch it. But I didn't watch it in theaters at least. So what do I think of Scream 6? I had like no excitement for it because I figured it's gonna be as bad as the last one. But I'll say this. It is definitely way better than the last one. And I borderline would say this should have been the last movie. This is what Scream 5 should have been. I love Neve Campbell. I didn't need her in the movie. Because for me, her arc ended in 4. So this is kind of what 5... Granted, I have a couple of negatives. I'll admit, it was decent up until that fucking reveal. That reveal heavily brought the movie down for me. Because I'm going to be honest, Ghostface himself in the movie was badass. There was like some legitimate kills. I liked the build-up. Like the killer was leaving like masks from the previous killers. And I was interested in that. The killer was kind of smart. And then we get to the reveal. The killer becomes like all of a sudden all retarded. You remember the movie You're Next? That was my same problem with that movie. The killers were all smart, and then when they get to the reveal, they fucking become like fucking useless and are retarded and are just they can't do anything and they're a joke. And that's what happened here. The killers become like once the reveal happens, and I'll get to it later. It's just they become fucking stupid and are useless and can't do shit and are a joke. Before I go into the plot, I guess we'll go by characters. It was Sam. I thought it was okay. She was way better in this movie compared to the last one. But I'm not going to lie. When I would see her or Tara, all it would really remind me of is the last movie. That was my problem. That's why I was like, I'd rather this had just been Scream 5. You cut out Sam and Tara. Well, I'll say this. Jenny Ortega is the way better actress for sure. She's a lot better in this movie. Maybe she should have been the new main character, but instead of Sam, because I'm sorry, I found Sam kind of boring, and her whole arc in this movie is basically she's viewed as the killer because whatever reason they somehow made it that she orchestrated the killing, even though we know who the killers are in the last movie. Anyway, I actually think the opening was kind of interesting because there was this opening killing, which we saw in the trailer, which was Samara Weaving. And then we see the person get unmasked. It's this kid named is this guy named Jason, and then he gets a call, and then we actually get the real killer killing him. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So the kills themselves are definitely really good too. Like Ghostface, like in the costume, is fucking brutal. Like they don't hold back. That scene at the little market where Sam and Tara go into, Ghostface walks and you got like a guy, what's your problem, buddy? And Ghostface just shanks the shit out of him. It was like, okay, they're not holding back on the violence in this. And I do like that there's chase scenes. That was like one of my big beefs with the last movie. Because one of the things that Scream, I'd arguably say, is known for is its chase scenes. And there was none in the last one. So it was at least in this one, there were some chase scenes. But then the reveal, it just falls off the cliff. I'll just spoil it. We get the reveal that it's the dad and brother and sister of Richie. So basically, we're doing the Scream 2 thing again. Instead, it's a whole family, and it's like the gender swap Scream 2. Instead of a mom, it's a dad. It's the same plot. The dad or mom of the said killer this time around is a dad and his whole family instead of just 2 people. Instead of just Mrs. Loomis, but it's still the same plot. And like I said, they become fucking retarded once the reveal happens. Like they go fucking clown villain. They're not out there. They stop. It's like they stop being smart. It's like the plot's okay. Now you gotta be dumb so the heroes can get one over. That's like what happened to that? Because they did that in the last movie too. It was like we have to fucking I don't know. it's like we had to make the killers retarded so the heroes can look. They did that again in this, and it just didn't work for me. And the reveal heavily brought the film down because up until this point, I was willing to give the film like a 7 because I was frustrated watching this too. Was like this should have been Scream 5. This is what the last film should have been. And I even had beef with bringing Gail in because I'm gonna be honest, Gail didn't need to be in this movie. They just brought her in just so you can do the fake out death again because yeah, she gets stabbed, and they want to make you think, oh, she's gonna die, but we know she doesn't. Like, we know she doesn't. Like, that's the problem I have with the movie. It's like they brought her in. Like, I didn't need Gail in this movie. Not really, unless you were gonna flat out like pull the trigger and kill her, but they didn't. But I'll say this: her scene though, with Ghostface chasing, I thought that was well done. Like there was actually some well done scenes. That's why the movie disappoints me a little bit because it's like, why did you have to go the retread route again? Because that was my beef with the last one. The killers' basically motives are just the same motives from previous killers, so but we're doing that again. I'll admit they didn't do the fan thing this time, which okay, at least they didn't do that. But it's like, are we really doing a retread of Scream 2? Really? Anyway. Overall, I would give the movie about a 6. It's way better than the last one. But that fucking reveal, which in my opinion, that's one of the best things about Scream is the reveal. I mean, look at Scream 1. I even think the reveal in 2 is decent. Like, the reveals are some of the best parts of the movies. And when you get that wrong, it brings it down heavily. I'll admit, it was decent up until this point. It was cool having Kirby back. But honestly, she probably should have been the killer. It would have been interesting if she had been the killer. The movie kind of sets it up because the cop dad makes you think it's her, but then it's him. And the whole plan that they had was just, it was a retread of Scream 2. It was like, are we really doing a retread? It was, anyway. Overall, 6 out of 10. It's not as bad as the last movie, but I still don't look at it as canon. For me, it ends at 4. This could maybe be like a fan film that someone made, or what if story. I do like the New York setting, and there was some good shots. Like, there was some legitimately good cinematography, especially in the train. Even though we saw this scene in the trailer where Mindy's seeing Ghostface and he's like coming closer and like the lights are going out that he's closer. That kind of shot, they did that really good. So I'll admit, there was good moments. It's just they dropped the ball with that fucking reveal. So anyway, before I get into that, later today, I will find a Bruce Lee movie and review it. And then tomorrow I'll be doing, before I go into it, I'll go into what I got going on this week. I got 2 videos today. I'm going to be doing this video and then a Bruce Lee movie later. Tomorrow I am going to be doing both Thunderball and Your Majesty's Service. Tomorrow, that's the plan. Then Wednesday, Southern Comfort. Thursday, Hellraiser 9. And then Friday, 65, which is another new movie I saw. But I figured I could push that one a bit because I want to give it another watch first anyway before I review it. But yeah, I'll review that on Friday since there's nothing really else coming out this week. So that's my plan so far. But let's get into Scream 6. So it starts with we see Samara Weaving, who in my opinion she should have been a main character. She's a feature and film. Supposed to be on a date. He gets called, lured to an alleyway. Then it goes to the Ghostface voice. Ghostface comes out and kills her. And then he takes it off. It's Jason. Who I thought when I first watched this, I was like, okay. Are we gonna like actually follow the killer? And then you see him walk back home like without his mask, and you even see him running to Tara. And it was like, it would have been interesting to see like them follow the killer, because I actually think that's something we've never seen before. Like, you know what? Let's follow the killers. You know. So he gets back home. He gets a call from who he thinks is his like roommate Greg, who they both planned on murdering Tara and Sam. But then calls get weirder. He goes to the refrigerator, finds the body of his friend Greg. When he opens the fridge, which they do not hold back on the violence. I'll say that the violence in this is pretty intense in some scenes. So he turns around, ends up getting killed, and I do like this line. He's like, I thought we were gonna finish Richie's movie. He's like, who gives a fuck about movies? I'll admit that was a good line. Then we meet Sam, who is on her own in New York. They live with fellows who live along with other survivors from the last movie, who it's not canon to me. But anyway, Chad and Mindy, who she's the new Randy. I'll admit I like her better in this one a bit, but it's still like they just are trying to make her. It's still weird for me that Randy's their uncle anyway. And they live with their roommate Quinn. They go to Blackmore. You do get a quick line about Omega Beta Zeta. That's why I thought for a second it would be Windsor, but then I remembered Windsor was in Ohio. So I think that was just a name drop just to get a little member berry in there. Sam learns from her roommate Quinn that Tara's at a party. They go to the party. Tara's about to go upstairs with this guy. He's a sketchy looking dude. But Chad stops it, and then Sam manages to show up to the party. And then she gets in like an altercation. She has a scene with a therapist, whatever. I'll admit this, like some of the Sam stuff I just didn't really care for at all. Like it was just like, okay. But and throughout the film, Tara's arc is that her and Chad, they're setting up like they're gonna be a couple. I'll spoil, he dies later on in the movie, but they do like that's basically their arc is like, are they gonna be a fake? Because they like almost kiss several times. So they then learn of the murder of I said Ivan, Jesus fuck. Jason and Greg on the news. Sam is called to the station by Detective Wayne Bailey, who's Quinn's dad. And while there, this is where they go to the station, and this is where we see Kirby, who we learn is an FBI agent. I don't know how my only thing is like, do I believe she would become an FBI agent? I guess I could, after surviving what happened in the fourth film, I can believe like, okay, maybe she wants to protect herself, so she becomes an FBI agent. Fine. I could kind of believe it. And I do like her in this movie, but I almost feel like she should have been the main character, not Sam. I think once Kirby was introduced, this should have been more about Kirby. Because I'll say that Sam's performance is a lot better in this movie, but I still don't really care for her as a character. Tara was decent. I think she could, because Jenny Ortega is not a bad actor. She was in X last year. She was pretty good in that. I didn't see Wednesday, so I can't really judge on that. But from some things I've seen her in, she's pretty good. So I would have rather her been the main character, not Sam. Because they even do I'll just spoil it. They did the whole ghost dad thing from the last movie where she sees Billy in visions. Granted, they do it like only a couple of times, but it's still like, why? I don't need to see Skeet Ulrich. Like, I honestly, when Gale first reappears in the movie, because Sam and Tara going outside, and then they even do the bit where, because they look at, because Gale, I guess, wrote the book and, said some things in her book about Sam and Tara. So Sam almost punches Gale, and then Tara ends up punching her. And it's like, do we really have to do that bit again? That was like, you didn't need to rip parts off of the main movies. I think this one should have been new. And I think there are parts of it that I like because it was doing that. I didn't need Gale in this movie. Especially if you're just gonna bring her in just to do another she's not dead. Unless you were gonna flat out pull the trigger and kill her off, she didn't need to be in this movie, to be honest. You could have left her out and I would have been fine. Maybe she's in one scene. I don't know, but I didn't need her in the whole movie. So I just feel like at that point it's just for member berries. Because I'm not saying, I'll admit, like, yeah, her chase scene and face off with Ghostface was done well, but it's still like I didn't necessarily need her in the movie. I would have rather have just focused on new characters. But the one thing I was noticing while I was sitting there watching, and I was like, this should have been the last movie. They should have just went a new direction from the beginning. They explain in the story, and this is a bit later, but they explain in the story why Nev or Sydney's not in the story. They basically make it canon that Mark Kincaid from Patrick Dempsey from Scream 3, they end up getting married. So they make that canon because that's always been like in the Scream fandom. That's always been like a ship that's always been. They've always kind of made it seem like her and that she ended up getting with Kincaid. So I guess they just made it canon now. But I would have rather them just did that in the last movie. I love Nev. I didn't need to see her again. But while this goes on, Ghostface attacks, ends up killing her Sam's therapist, and stealing like one of her files and leave. Throughout the killings, they've been leaving masks. Like they left them. I think the last scene was the mask from Scream 4 with DNA from Jill and Rory, and then you have not Rory, Jill and Charlie. Rory. I was thinking of that guy's actual name, Rory Culkin. And then that killing that I just mentioned about the therapist, they left the Scream 3 mask from Roman, so they're I like that. I was actually really interested in that. So Sam I missed something. Sam and Tara after finding out about her friend Jason and Greg, they get a call from Ghostface. This is where we get that chase scene to the market, and I'm not gonna lie, that scene was kind of lit. Because Ghostface just walks in and shakes the shit out of him. And then another guy kills the clerk, steals his shotgun. I'll admit, I didn't mind the shotgun kill in context. It didn't really bother me. It was one scene, and then he drops it, So Kirby and Detective Bailey are working on the case, and I'll admit that was kind of why it bothered me. They ended up making the honestly, like I said it earlier, they ended up making that detective guy the killer. Because I actually was liking him as a character. It's like, yeah, he's not Dewey, but it was kind of interesting to see a cop deal with this case personally, And then, obviously later they make you think that his daughter Quinn actually ends up dying, but it did not. So then, after that, we kind of get a scene with like the main group. Oh, I should have mentioned, yeah, Sam has a boyfriend. It's like this dude across the street, which I don't. Why was he in the movie? Because spoiler alert, he's not the killer. It's almost like he's just there to be a red herring. That's it. He's just there to be like, oh, is it him? But then we know it's not. So all it does is what was the point of this dude's character? Because he doesn't have an arc. I thought the scene where because at this point you didn't know Quinn was the killer. So, because you see Ghostface like standing over her. This is a little later. I'll just skip to that part anyway. So the core four are like celebrating in the other room. Her boyfriend notices Ghostface standing over her friend Quinn. Ghostface notices him and goes away, and then he starts ending up attacking the group. Um, Mindy and Sam manage to make it to the boyfriend's house because he uses like this ladder to like so he can climb across. And I admit, I did like this sequence. It was, it was kind of riveting. You're like, oh, are they gonna make it? Then Mindy's girlfriend, which I'll admit one thing too, and I hate having to point this out, but it's good that Hollywood didn't make it like a big deal that Mindy and I think that girl Edna, is that her name? I'll look it up. Oh, Annika. Sorry, I got her name wrong. Yeah, Annika. She ends up trying to climb across, but Ghostface ends up getting in the room. He shakes the ladder until it tilts, and she ends up falling off. She dies pretty brutally. She hits the fucking trash can before hitting the ground, and her face was like all caved in. It was like, God damn. And then the next day, Chad and Mindy start thinking it's their roommate Ethan. Who, it's spoiler alert, he's the other killer. Because we get the reveal that he, along with Gwen, are the brothers of Richie. So that day, and they end up leaving Mickey's mask, which I like that aspect. I was thinking it was kind of interesting the killers leaving masks from the previous killers. I thought that was interesting. Obviously, I don't count fucking Scream 5, obviously. I just go from 4, but that was an interesting kind of concept. And then they just drop the ball with the reveal even more because they make Ghostface kind of intelligent again, and then it's like that reveal, and he's fucking retarded. Anyway, so Wayne vows to get revenge, so he ends up starting to work with the kids along with Gail and Kirby. Gail takes him to this warehouse, which actually has basically, it's pretty much the warehouse of all the props from the Scream movies. That's essentially what it is. All the props from all the Scream movies, basically, like all the weapons, outfits, all the Ghostface costumes. And Tara walks up to the costume in the center is Billy's costume, and the one he wore, and the knife he used. And then in the thing you see her having visions of Billy again, which is just like, why are we doing this? What? I mean, I know why it was the Easter egg. Oh, guys, it's Skeet Ulrich, but I didn't like it in the last movie because relatively, Scream has always been supposed to be somewhat our real life, right? I mean, the movies they always bring up, like the movies are movies that actually exist. It's not like some made up movie for the world. Like it's movies that actually exist. So I always feel like Scream should somewhat be like realistic. There's no supernatural stuff in there. It's not a world where like, it's like Nightmare on Elm Street where there's like Dream Killer, or this isn't a world where an undead killer who never dies comes back and kills people in a camp, or an evil that can't be explained like Michael Myers, who in a way he's also supernatural. Like there's none of those elements in these movies. So it's just weird to me when she's seeing like essentially a ghost. It's like, so ghosts are real now in Scream now? Okay. It just threw me off. It threw me off in the last one. And also, y'all know how I feel about Billy even having a daughter. It doesn't make any sense canon-wise and timeline-wise. Billy would not have had the time to cheat on Sydney in the first Scream. He would not have had the time. So, because that first Scream is only like a couple of days. So it just he wouldn't have had the time. Anyway. So, Tara runs off, and then Kirby and her talk for a second, which I thought that scene was kind of nice. So they end up devising a plan that their plan is to lure Ghostface back to that theater and lock him in there so they can get him. So they end up going to the subway platform. Chad ends up going with Sam and her boyfriend, while Mindy ends up getting separated along with Ethan. And this is the scene where, I'll admit, I thought this was kind of cool. Because they make you think they see Ghostface a couple times, and we find out it's not. But then Mindy actually starts seeing him, and then yeah, Ghost, and it was very well done. This is why I think she should have died in this scene, because like the way Ghost was like held her mouth and just was stabbing her. I'm like, oh god damn. And I hate to say it, this is almost a basically what goes on in New York now. In most New York subways, you can literally kill someone on there, or it's happened before, and no one pays attention. No one like acts like no one cares. Like that's how it is. So I do think they showcase that aspect in New York pretty right. Um, Ethan ends up coming back and taking her to the hospital. Um, so the other group ends up going back to the theater. Sam sends her boyfriend away because, don't trust anyone. Because that's the thing he says earlier. And basically, like, you're not part of this thing. So he ends up going. And it's like, what was the point? Because he's not the killer. And I knew he wasn't going to be the killer because it's a red herring. And it's even worse because he doesn't even really have an arc in the movie. He's just there. He's just kind of her boyfriend. Or boy toy, if you want to, whatever you want to call it. Sorry about that. I got trash cubs early in the morning. But his character is straight up pointless. Because all he's really there for is he's just there to be the red herring. He's just there to be like, oh, is he the killer? Is he not? But if I'm being honest, what would be his motive? It wouldn't have made sense for him to be the killer. And like I said, I was kind of intrigued on who the killer was up until this point. So Sam ends up, because Kirby says she's going to be the only one with the gun. So her dad, Ghost Dad, basically convinces her to break the glass and steal the knife from his thing. Then this is where Sam gets a call from Wayne telling her, oh, don't trust Kirby now. She was dropped from the force. And I thought for a second, oh, are they going to actually make Kirby the killer? I think that would have been interesting. And I could believe it. She is FBI trained, so I can believe some of the kills she was doing, like throwing some dudes around. And it's not like she's sorry about that. She's not a scrawny girl. So I could believe it. And it would have been more interesting than what the actual reveal was, which was that while this happens, Chad and Tara kiss, the killers show up, and then we see that it's two killers, and they both end up killing Chad, which I thought that scene was actually kind of well done. Like, oh, two of them are shanking the shit out of him. Like, okay. But then the reveal happens, and this is where the movie it falls apart. Yeah, this is where it falls off for me. So we see Wayne show up, ends up shooting Kirby. Oh fuck! I skipped one scene. Before I get to this one, they end up trying to track the killer's phone. The killer is a step ahead of them, and when they track where the call's coming from, it's from 96th Street, which is where Gale is. This is where we have the section where Gale gets attacked, which I thought was actually very well done. It's a nice chase, and I like in the middle of the chase, like when she locked herself in a room, Ghostface calls her back, and he's like still calling her. I like that. I like Ghostface in the costume was great. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was I haven't seen a legitimately good Ghostface in costume in a while. So it was kind of cool seeing him, because even in the last movie, he was retarded. Like, he was straight up, like, killing people broad daylight in the middle of the suburbs. At least in this, it's believable. Like, in New York, that happens. Especially certain parts. People do just get killed or shot or whatever in the subway. So that part is believable. But he wasn't just, like, stabbing someone in the fucking driveway, sunny as fuck. Like, at least, like, that, none of that shit was happening. So, in the costume, Ghostface was great. Because I love how and the call scenes were great. You could tell Roger L. Jackson it was cool hearing him again. So, that stuff was cool. And then he nearly kills Gale. He ends up stabbing her in the side with glass. But I knew Sam and Tara were gonna get there just in time, and it was like that kind of makes it even more. Why was Gale in this movie? I didn't really need Gale in this movie. If you're just gonna do a fake out death again, if she wasn't gonna die, you might as well just had pulled the trigger. I think it would have worked, and I think it would have been an emotional one. I actually think if they had killed her, it would have been a better done death than Dewey's. But no, they didn't. So going back now to the finale, the reveal is that the killers are Wayne, Ethan, and Quinn, who actually didn't die because they're the Quinn and Ethan are the brothers of Richie, and Wayne is the dad, which is just like really. I rolled my eyes, man, because it was just like we're doing the retread thing again. Because that was my problem with the last one with the reveal. The last one with Amber and Richie, their plan was basically a mix of Mickey's and Jill's, but this time we're doing fucking Mrs. Loomis, but she's a man and it's a whole family instead of just one person. Like, really? Why? So it turns out that fucking collection was all Richie's. So I'm now supposed to just believe Richie got all that shit. Okay. So he had that the whole time, even in 5. It was stupid, man. It was like we're really doing Mrs. Loomis again, and it's literally the same motive with the dad. Like, you killed my son instead of not Sydney, it's Sam. It's just like, what the fuck, bro? Like, why? Like, and then not just that, the killers become retarded and incompetent. They're like tripping over themselves. That was one of my compliments up until this point. I was like, wow, the Ghostface isn't tripping over shit or nothing. Like, he's being like straight up professional, and then becomes all fucking fumbling retard in the end. All of them, the dad, the kids, they become straight up comic villains. They're not taken seriously. So like Ethan ends up getting killed pretty quick. Like, I'll admit the way Tara kills was pretty brutal. Like, she shoves the knife and like twists it in its mouth, and then Quinn gets shot in the face, and then the dad ends up. They do it, like kind of like what what Sid did in the first movie. Put the costume on and call the killer, and then she ends up killing They end up killing the dad. Ethan comes back, which doesn't make any sense. He got stabbed in the face with a knife, a hunting knife, by the way. No, you're not coming back from that, bro. And it was like back of the mouth. That's like to the throat. That dude, he's dead. But no, because we have to always do they come back and then they smash the TV that killed Stu, which they made canon full. Yeah, Stu's dead. Which I've always said, this isn't Halloween. You don't get a 20-pound TV thrown at you from the 90s. Or I think it's probably bigger than that. That TV was huge. And remember, Stu was bleeding out, too. He was stabbed to shit by Billy. Like, people forget that. And he's not Michael Myers, bro. He got stabbed to shit and he got a TV smashed on him. He's dead. Just the weight of it. Anyway. Sam and Tara have a moment. Sam agrees to let Tara, do her own thing. Sam decides to... Yeah, Mindy and Chad are alive. Like, how many people just... Oh, that's the other thing. I've seen a lot of people point this out, the couple reviews that I've seen. Too many people are surviving stabbings now. It's ridiculous. You could get stabbed like 20 fucking times and survive. Like, what the fuck? Chad should not have survived. Dude got stabbed multiple times. Mindy, I could have believed, because the stab wasn't fatal. Like, he stabbed her in the stomach, so I can believe. And Ethan got her to the hospital pretty quick, right? But how the fuck did Chad survive? That motherfucker got stabbed like 20 times. Or at least it looked like before, Sam and Tara ran away. It was like, why? Like, now, too many people are fucking surviving now. Whatever problems I have with Scream 2, I can't agree that maybe that movie at least had balls to kill somebody. These are new characters. Gale should have died. Somebody, Chad should be dead. Kirby, I almost believe she should be dead too. She got shot in the face. But I guess maybe she got shot in the arm and just looked like she got shot in the face. Okay. And then, so yeah, Sam throws the mask away from her dad. Whatever. This movie was really decent up until the end, man. The killers become uber incompetent, and that it reminded me of Your Next, which is a better movie. But it had the same problem. The killers were like all smart in the beginning when they're doing the killings, but when they confront the final the final girl, they become fucking incompetent and become like comedy villains where they're tripping over themselves. The hero's gonna get out of this. That was the one thing I think at least Scream. I really think really only Scream 1, 3 kind of too got this really right, where you obviously knew Sydney wasn't gonna die, but you could believe that Billy and Stu could have gotten away with it. You could believe that it was believable, even with Scream 3 a little bit. I didn't buy that. Obviously, with this one, the subsequent ones, 4 even a little bit, which I like that one, but even that one a little bit. It was just not. The killers become overly incompetent, especially 5 and 6. My God, the killers are retards. It's even worse in this one because how smart the killer was up until this point, and then they become fucking retarded in the end. And they're comedy. They can't even stumbling over their shoes. What are we doing? Why are they like a joke now? It sucks. So this film could have been decent. It really was decent up until that fucking ending. And then that reveal. And the Scream reveal is one of the biggest things in the franchise. That's what a lot of people mean, obviously, besides the opening, Drew Barrymore kill. I'd argue one of the most memorable scenes in the first Scream is that reveal. But a lot of people's favorite parts in Scream movies are the reveal of who the killer is. And then it was done badly. Why not just make it the dad? You could have made it that Wayne Bailey guy and Kirby. I would have been interesting because some of the kills, it would make sense that it's a cop, and I can more believe Kirby having that collection than fucking Richie. Where the fuck did he get all this shit? I guess his dad's a cop. That'd be the only art. Yeah, that reveal it brought the movie down heavily. And the fact that so many people survive getting stabbed now, it's fucking ridiculous. At least Sydney's not in the movie, so I didn't really need it. At least I didn't see my leg break. Probably my favorite final girl ruined again, like they did in the last one. And honestly, I didn't need her to come back. But I still say this should have been Scream 5. Because there are good elements in this. Because I was saying one of the biggest things, they should have just went a new direction, Have Scream 4 be that ending story for Sydney. Granted, I'd say for Gale, too. Gale should not have been in this either. She was not needed. If you're just going to have her not die again, just left her out of the movie. Her chase scene was good, and I'm happy that they brought chase scenes back. That was like one of my biggest negatives of the last movie, because Scream is known for its chase scenes. So to finally have some good chase scenes, there were some. I like the one in the market. Gale's was done well. Even the one where they attack Sam and Tara's house or apartment. That was a good chase scene. So there was some legitimately good chase scene. But why was Billy brought back just to do that ghost dad bit again, which I thought was cringe in the last movie. And like I said, Scream is supposed to be somewhat our world. In this world, it's not like Halloween where you have a supernatural killer like Michael Myers who can't die, or mostly can't die, or has supernatural origins somewhat. Same with Jason. It's not a world like that. Scream is supposed to be somewhat realistic, but now you're getting motherfuckers who survive getting stabbed 10 times, and apparently ghosts now exist. Yeah, ghosts exist in Scream now, I guess, because of what. And you can say it's in her head, but it's not. It'd be one thing if she was dreaming this shit, but she's not. It's like literally happening as shit. It's like when she's looking at the costume, Billy's head shows up. It'd be one thing if she was like sleeping and then she's having nightmares. Then you can have like a scene where with Skeet Ulrich. I'll be fine with it because that's a dream scene. But that's not what this is. You're doing it in real time, or at least something was supposed to be real time. So it's like, when it's Scream's not supposed to be supernatural. It's supposed to be like the real one, like the real franchise in the sense it's supposed to almost mimic our world. But now I guess their ghosts exist in Scream now. Okay. I don't like saying that, but the way Billy shows up, he's a fucking ghost. There's no other way to explain it. He's a ghost. Anyway, I don't want to, you know, and I already went into why I don't think Billy, it doesn't even make any sense for Billy to have a daughter. You could have just made Sam her own character. You didn't need to tie her to Billy at all. Billy didn't have a kid. Or you know what? I would have even been fine if they made Sam the killer. You know what? That would have been interesting. It would have been kind of predictable, but I knew they weren't going to do that because they were laying it on thick. Oh, you're the one who orchestrated it. You know, the last killings. And it just, no. I knew they weren't going to do it. So it's like, if they actually went all the way and did it, then yeah, you would have surprised me, but they didn't. So overall, this movie was, I won't say good, was pretty decent up until that fucking reveal. And they dropped the ball with that. And then really that third act just falls off a fucking cliff. And would I watch this again? Maybe, but not as a canon Scream film. I'd watch it as like, because you know, there's like a bunch of Scream fan films on YouTube. That's kind of how I look at this one. It's not canon, but it's like someone made. If we're like, you know, I want to do my own Scream story in Manhattan, you know, or in New York. So I did think they used New York pretty good. I think there was some good sequences. There was some really good kills. The kills were creative, and I liked some of the call scenes. And I did a little bit. They do mention like legacy characters being ruined, like Luke Skywalker. So there is that. And the meta-ness didn't bother me as much as the last one. I think the last one was way too meta. I think they toned it back to where it felt like legit Scream meta, like what it was, what's supposed to be, where it's meta, but it's not. It's still supposed to be. It's a movie too. So I think they dialed the meta-ness back a bit. But yeah, it's like I said, there's some positives. It's just, man, that fucking third act just kills the movie for me. It brings it down. That's why I can't give it anything higher than a 6. That ending brings it down hard because it's just, we're doing a retread of fucking end. We did this already. We already did this with Mrs. Loomis, but now we're just doing it with the whole family. And now it's a man. Like, fuck off. I was so disappointed that's what they were doing. Because I'm pretty sure there's even a line where they were saying, like, when Mindy was talking about who the killer is, you know, because she's basically the Randy of these movies. So, like, they even did the rules thing, which was like, all right. Which I'm almost feeling like it's getting to a point you're just doing it out of obligation. She says that the killer reveal needs to be something crazy, and they didn't do that. So the movie almost is like, oh, guys, the reveal is going to be crazy. No, it's not. Fuck you, movie. Don't do that. Because then you get me all set up, like, okay. Because the way the killer was being in the movie, I was expecting something crazy, too. And it's, no. We're doing a thing we've already seen. Another pissed off parent at the survivor of the last movie because their kid's dead. It's like, ugh. And but this time, the parents with his brother and sister. That's the only difference. It wasn't that crazy. So that's why it's really hard for me to be like uber positive. I mean, it's way better than the last movie. They didn't attack the fans. And I'll still say this. I don't forgive them for the last movie. I never will. Because insinuating that fans are murderers because we don't like bad movies. You know how many fucking times I'd be a murderer then? The amount of bad fucking movies I've seen? Just saying. But anyway. They really dropped the ball with this ending. Because this one could have been decent. Like, they really could have, if they just fucking nailed that reveal. It could have been good. But anyway, I feel like I've gone on long enough. Later tonight, I'll find a Bruce Lee movie to review. And yeah. But Scream 6, I give a 6 out of 10. It's better than the last one. I'd only say watch it. Just watch it on like the high seas, or just wait till it goes on a streaming service, one of the two. You don't need to rush to see it in the theater. Because it's just another Scream movie. Even if you're a Scream fan, I would say, yeah, just wait. So, anyway. 6 out of 10. Way better than the last one. And I still say this, if this had been the last one, maybe I would be a bit more positive on it. That reveal still really sucked, though. So, anyway. But, well, cheers, and talk to y'all later. But fuck Joe Biden. I'll talk to y'all later tonight. Peace.